Alrighty, so last time you guys saw me, I was doing the LRs for a tier list. Today we are going to be looking at LR EZAs. Now, you guys can see we have a pool of 10 here. I believe these are the 10 best LR EZAs in the game at the moment, in the context of the worldwide download celebration now wrapping up. So we are now on to the Android celebration over on JP, and then Global is into their tier list celebration. So what I wanted to do is look at some of the LR EZAs that we've seen, see how they've kind of held up in terms of the hardest fights in the game at the moment, and we're going to be ranking them from 10 to 1. So with all that being said, let's get the disclaimers out of the way. Number one, this is my opinion and my experience using the units. Most of the units that you see here on the screen I do have at the rainbow level, except for Rose, God Goku, and I believe that's Trunks and Mai, who are at 90%, 69%, and 69% respectively. But I think in my experience using all these units, I've tested them in just about everything from the Divine Wrath Immortal Will fights to the Ultimate Red Zone stuff. So this isn't going to be like, oh, you're not the best in Red Zone Zamasu, you suck, you're not on the list. But if you do perform well in there, you do get bonus points. I think that is a kind of a fair evaluation scale to be like, oh, if you're more relevant in the hardest fight in the game right now, you get a bonus point. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the list. Okay, so coming in at number 10, I have Goku Black and Zamasu. Now with Goku Black and Zamasu, these guys came out around Tanabata of 2022. I believe their EZA was for part 2, if I'm not mistaken, and this was a solid EZA to run with the LR Int Merge Zamasu. And you guys already know with the Tech Fusion Zamasu that we have in the game now, that these guys are going to work pretty well on his team. But one of the problems is that the hardest fight in the game currently is Int. So, you know, the first phase of that being Int with an AoE, it's going to be tough, but to kind of counteract that, these guys have guard, they are stackable, and stuff like that. And I just think overall they're a very good unit. Now, honestly, when I'm making this list, so what we're kind of doing is I'm kind of like, I'm going to make this one as we go, and I'm kind of like putting out my thoughts. So it's like, if I think that a unit might be able to, I should move a unit up or down, I think I would do that. But I think in this case, I like Goku Black and Zamasu where they are, because they have a respectable defensive number after they get built up pretty well. Like we're talking like, you know, 15, 16 million attack stats, and then they have like 700, 800,000 defense, which is nowhere near bad. And to kind of counteract the fact that their defense is not the best when it starts, they are guarding while they build up, and then they also have the heal in between turns, which is very helpful to kind of pair them up with like the Zamasu units that heal, the other Goku Blacks like LR Rose. You can fit them in that window and whatnot, and that is kind of where I'm at with them. So number 10 for that unit. Let's move on to number 9, which I'm going to have Trunks and Mai. So Trunks and Mai, this exclusively comes from the fact that in the hardest content right now is all basically Future Saga enemies. And if you guys don't know that this Trunks and Mai, they have a dodge chance against Future Saga enemies. So it's like, if they don't dodge, they're pretty suspect. But again, they have type advantage in the last phase, or in the second phase of the Fusion Zamasu fight. And I think that alone with their dodge chance and also everything else that they're doing in terms of like, if you want to talk about enemies that can be stunned, they're valuable because these guys have that. They have a decent attack numbers, defensive numbers, and they are able to dodge. I think, honestly, now that I look at this, I'm thinking I like this a little bit better. But at 10 for them, I think is very respectable considering the company that they're amongst. If you guys look, once we get past Rose, it is 6 Dokkan Fest LR EZAs. So Trunks and Mai, I think I'm going to move to 10 and then have Goku Black and Zamasu at 9. And that is going to lead to my next one, and that is going to be LR God Goku. Now, LR God Goku is very similar to Trunks and Mai in where they have crit chance, they have dodge chance, and then they have what is it? Like, I think it's like after 11 turns have elapsed or something, they have like a medium chance to dodge or something like that. It's a really bad condition, but I think all in all, this is just like a solid numbers unit with a dodge chance, and 8 is a good spot for them just because of the link set that they have, the teams that they fit. You know, they're going to fill a role very well. If you need to use them in like the Merge Zamasu fight of Divine Wrath and Entrusted Will, you'll be able to use him because he has type advantage over that Zamasu, and I think he'll work out really well. But other than that, I think that is a good spot for them. So let's move on to number 7, which is going to be Spirit Bomb Absorb Goku. Now, Spirit Bomb Absorb Goku can look insanely impressive, right? You throw him next to somebody like AGL, Gohan, really like any unit, like, because you know how this guy goes, right? He has to have a Super Saiyan on rotation, and when that Super Saiyan's on rotation, you know, and he's Rainbow Orb changing and stuff like that, this guy is, he can put up mammoth attack stats, right? Especially when he gets all those Rainbow Orbs. You put him in slot 2, you build him full dodge, he can be reliable defensively, but then he also has other effects, right? So say you want to run this guy in Super Battle Road, right? He lowers attack, lowers defense, and seals the enemy, which is extremely important and stuff like that. So anywhere where you can debuff the enemy, like you think about a fight like Omega Shenron, where the first phase dodge is disabled and he's type disadvantaged, but to kind of counter that, you know, you're putting up wicked attack stats and also able to lower his attack. And then when you combine him with LR Gohan right here, you're going to really be able to do a decent number on somebody like that. And then he has type advantage in the second phase of Omega and stuff like that. And I think all in all, this is a solid unit. I think building him full dodge is the way to go, but I like him a little bit better than God Goku on the premise that his just attack numbers can get way higher. And defensively, after if he does an additional and gets that 12 key in, he can also look impressive defensively. I think that you could put God Goku at 7 and put Spirit Bomb Absorb Goku down to 8 or something like that, but I think Spirit Bomb Absorb Goku is just a little bit better in terms of just like what he's doing offensively, and that kind of weighs it up, right? So with that being said, let's move on to number 6, and that is the Go Bros. So the top 5 should make a decent bit of sense to you guys, I think. Cell is extremely impressive, Gohan, the 5 years and stuff like that, and Goku Black. It really is going to kind of come down to preference and which ones that you like, but with the Go Bros, their offensive output is bananas, right? Like with like the crits, all the additionals that they're doing. It's like these guys, if you've seen like some of this content on my channel, they're getting up to like 16 million, 17 million, doing 3 supers, critting on all of them, doing all types of damage, having a really hard hitting active skill when you get to a low HP. They are doing quite a bit offensively, and that helps out a decent bit. Now, one big drawback to this guy, or these guys, is that the AoE portion of Merge Zamasu, they're going to get shredded. Like, without a shadow of a doubt, you're going to have to use an item, you're going to have to get lucky with the AoE, but otherwise these guys are going to be in trouble from that. And so honestly, that's where like you could move them down a decent bit, but I think just with the offensive numbers that they are putting up and stuff like that, it is going to be tough, right? Because like you just look, the offensive, like the output of damage that these guys can do to the compared to these 10 right here, or these 4, I just think that there's a decent step up, and Dokkan Fest LR EZAs have tend to have been a bit of a step up from the Yellow Coin LR EZAs, which 7 to 10 are. So I think, again, with the offensive output of the Go Bros, as well as their active skill and stuff like that, and they also have like an okay leader skill if you care about that, I think that is going to kind of factor into it. I think you guys, especially when you get them on global, you'll understand what I mean when they're putting up 17, 18 million attack stats, doing 2 to 11 million supers and stuff like that. You'll see what I mean. But again, with the Merge Zamasu fight, those guys definitely took a hit, and I just think that the other EZAs on this list are better. So with that being said, let's go on to number 5, and that is Cell. So with Cell, it depends on which version of Cell we're talking about, right? If we're talking about the fusion or the perfect Cell after he gets his revive proc, or whatever you want to call it, you know, his transformation, this guy has a top 1 kit, right? A top 2, top 3. But most of the time when you're using the Cell, and the same is said for this Gohan, you have him in base. And when he's in base, he is nowhere near as impressive as when he is in perfect Cell, right? Or super perfect Cell, whatever you want to call him, right? I think that this guy can look impressive, but doesn't really have many defensive gimmicks going on for him other than raising on super. But when you transform, you know, per orbs that you're getting damage reduction, and the attack stats are just going through the roof, right? We're talking like 20 plus million and stuff like that, doing 2 to 3 supers, just crazy damage. And you can use him in plenty of fights. Like my no item run for the Vegito fight, I used this guy and got the transformation for it. So that is kind of where he becomes very useful. But other than that, I think 5 is a good spot for him. Again, if the transformation was a little more consistent and you didn't have to get to a certain HP threshold, and if maybe extreme teams were a little more viable, I'd say that this guy is closer to 2 or 1. But with all that being said, I think 5 is a great spot for him, and then just these 4 units are just better. So number 4, I have Rose. I like Rose's EZA a lot. I think they did a phenomenal job considering how much they butchered the TUR. Expectations were extremely high after that, and I think they delivered pretty well. Like 55%, you know, this guy is clearing 17, 18 million on his 24 key and stuff like that, doing 2 to 3 supers, has all that going for him. He has a rage mode, which is extremely valuable because that can take away supers and AoEs and whatnot, but it is kind of hard to get that out because of the HP restriction that you have on it. But otherwise, I think this unit is extremely impressive, but unfortunately, just not enough defensive utility to kind of, and you know, being on an extreme team is going to kind of weigh down his position a little bit. So I think 4 is a good spot for him. And at number 3, I have Gohan. So this one is tough. I think 1, 2, and 3, you can really do any combination and it'll work. But with Gohan, it gets very tricky because he has guard, he has stacking, but he can lose that guard and doesn't have like what the blue fusions have in terms of their offensive output, their guaranteed dodge on turn 4. It's just, they don't have enough, in my opinion, at the moment, or he doesn't have enough aside from that. Because it's like, you think about him in the Omega fight, you know, he's able to lower attack and stuff like that and stack up a decent bit. He has type advantage in the second phase. But again, it's like, it's the same kind of concept that Cell has with Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, where Super Saiyan 2 Gohan is like borderline impossible to bring out, right? You have to really put the situation in favor of Gohan in order to bring that out. And I just don't think that's consistent enough. I think this Gohan is extremely well done. and his stacking, his guard, the defense that you have on that guy is just incredible. His link set is great. He's like literally on like every team in the game that's even like half relevant. He's on that category. Like I'm pretty sure he's on like well over 20 teams at this point. And overall, I just think that this Gohan is solid, and I think 3 is a good spot for him. When we come to number 2, this is where the Fusion Zamasu fight is going to kind of change this up a bit. So in the context of things, the way is, so like if you wanted to do the easy way out, what I could do is say there's a gap between 1 and 2 and then do this. But for the sake of the video and talking about it, I'm going to do this. I think right now, this is what I'm content with. And why I say that is it's very simple, right? Both of these guys are extremely similar units in what they're doing, right? Like especially in base, that they're the same unit. It's literally the same thing. Like literally like no differences whatsoever. You know, we're talking about with Vegito and Gogeta, they're literally the same thing. I don't know how many times I could say that over. But when we get to blue, things get a little bit different, right? We have the guaranteed dodges from both of them, which helps. But the one thing that comes in, like I said, the one thing that's making me have, usually I have Vegito over Gogeta because of the consistency that Vegito has. But right now, it's the fact that Vegito is type disadvantage against the AoE in the Zamasu fight, then also type neutral in the second phase, right? Because, you know, attack on physical. But with Gogeta, it's type neutral in the first phase and then type advantage in the second phase. So again, if this guy, so like I could literally do this, right? So like this is literally how I would do it, right? Like it literally would look something like that. And I think that is a fine spot to call the list. So just to recap, in case you guys are doing background stuff and not looking at the screen, I have at 10, I have Trunks and Mai. At number 9, I have Goku Black and Zamasu. At number 8, I have Int God Goku. At number 7, I have Spirit Bomb Absorbed Super Saiyan Goku. At number 6, I have LR Gohan and Goten, the Go Bros. At number 5, I have LR Cell. At number 4, I have LR Goku Black Rose. At number 3, I have Gohan. At 2/1.5, I have Vegito. And then at number 1, I have Gogeta. So, let me know down below what you guys think of this list. I think this came out pretty well for LR EZAs. Again, we can look at TURs, TUR EZAs, and stuff like that going forward, but I think this is a good spot to call this one. So, let me know down below what you guys think. How would you do your list? What did I do right? What did I do wrong? Leave a like if you did enjoy. Subscribe if you are new, and I'll catch you in the next one.